वृंदावन धाम की,
जय
नाथपुरी धाम की,
जय
नवदीप मायपुर धाम की,
जय
इस्कॉन फिलाडेल्फिया की,
जय
समवेत गौर भक्तवृंद,
जय
all glories to assembled devotees,
हरे
Hare
कृष्णा
Krishna,
all glories to assembled devotees,
हरे
Hare
कृष्णा
Krishna,
all glories to assembled devotees,
हरे
Hare
कृष्णा
Krishna,
all glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga Hari Hari.
Hare Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna. Good morning, everyone. So we will continue to discuss, read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, the last chapter, the Canto 2, the Cosmic Manifestation, and Chapter 10, Answers citing the Lord's version, and text 30. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो
Om Namo
भगवते वासुदेवाय
Devaya,
Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो
Om Namo
भगवते
Bhagavate Vasudevaya,
Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो
Om Namo
भगवते
Bhagavate Vasudevaya,
वासुदेवाय
Nididhyasaratmamayam Hridayam Niravidyata Tata Manaschandra iti Sankalpa Kama Evacha Nididhyasaratmamayam Hridayam Niravidyata Tato Manaschandra iti Sankalpa Kama Evacha Nididhyasaratmamayam Hridayam Niravidyata Tato Manaschandra iti Sankalpa Kama Evacha. Please recite.
निधिध्यासोर आत्ममाया हृदयं निरभिद्यत ततो मनश्चन्द्र इति संकल्प काम एव च
Nirbhidyasar Atmamayam, Hridayam Nirbhidyata, Tato Manaschandra Iti, Sankalpa Kamaye Vacha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone
Hare
else?
Krishna. Nidhi Nididhyasur Atma Mayam Hidayam Nirbhidayat Tato Manaschandra Iti Sankalpa Kama Evacha. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण निधिधयासोर आत्मा मायं हृदयं निरभिदयाता ततो मानश्चंद्रो इति संकल्पो कामाय वाचा हरे कृष्ण
Thank you. Anyone
Hare
else?
Krishna. Vidyasaratmamayam hridayam niravidyata tato manaschandra iti sankalpa kama eva cha.
निदिध्यासोर आत्ममायां हृदयं निरभिद्यत ततो मनश्चन्द्र इति संकल्प काम एव च.
Thank you. So we'll go for synonyms. Nidhi dhyasa, being desirous to know. Atma mayam, own energy. Hridayam, the location of the mind. Niravidyata, was manifested. Tata, thereafter. Mana, the mind. Chandra, the controlling deity of the mind, the moon. iti, thus, sankalpa, determination, kama, desire, eva, as much as, cha, also. Translation: when there was a desire to think about the activities of his own energy, then the heart, the seat of the mind, the moon, determination, and all desire became manifested. Purport: the heart of every living entity is the seat of the Supersoul, Paramatma, a plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Without his presence, the living entity cannot get into the working energy according to his past deeds. The living entities who are conditioned in the material world are manifested in the creation in terms of respective inclinations inherent in them. And the requisite material body is offered to each and every one of them by the material energy under the direction of the Super Soul. This is explained in the Bhagavad Gita 9.10. When, therefore, the Super Soul is situated in the heart of the conditioned soul, the requisite mind is manifested in the conditioned soul, and he becomes conscious of his occupation as one is conscious of his duty after waking up from slumber. Therefore, the material mind of the living entity develops when the Supersoul sits on his heart, after which the mind, the controlling deity, moon, and then the activities of the mind, namely thinking, feeling, and willing, all take place. The activities of the mind cannot begin without the manifestation of the heart. And the heart becomes manifested when the Lord wants to see the activities of the material creation. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gopavani Pracharine Nirbhisesa Sunyavadi Paschyata Desatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Good morning everyone. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for joining and giving me your association. Before I summarize this verse, I would like to seek blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas, senior Vaishnavas. This is very, now we are, in one sense, we can say it's a Sankhya philosophy also, very detailed. Sukadeva Goswami is explaining, and the whole purpose behind it. We'll discuss on this as well. So we'll focus on this verse, what Prabhupada says, then overall, and how it is relevant to the universal form also we'll discuss. So translation again. When there was a desire to think about the activities of his own energy, then the heart, the seat of the mind, the moon, determination, and all desire became manifested. And in the purport, he says, the heart of every living entity is the seat of the Super Soul, Paramatma, who is plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, I would like to focus on this. One is the Paramatma, and he's located in the heart. And it says that it is a sitting place, right? The heart of every living entity is the seat for the Super Soul. It's an interesting statement, Prabhupada writes. Seat for the Super Soul and Paramatma. Without his presence, the living entity cannot get into the working energy according to his past deeds. The living entity who are conditioned in the material world are manifested in the creation in terms of respective inclinations inherent in them. So when the living entity, manifestation stage, and living entity is a spirit soul, he or she has a particular desire. And I don't know if we can use the C or not. So the living entity is a particular desire, and with that desire, the living entity enters into the body of a mother, womb of a mother. The desires, everyone has a desire. When it enters the womb of a mother, and then the body starts forming. And here we can see when we hear from the Lord Kapila Dev to instructions to Mother Devhuti, he says that, let me share that verse here. Karmana Daiva Netrena Jantur Papatyade Striya Prabhishta Udara Pumsa Reta Kanashraya. Under the supervision of the Supreme Lord and according to the results of his work. So basically, the living entity has prior desires, prior activities, and develops certain desire. And then he has been put under certain conditions in the womb of a woman through the particle of a male semen to assume a particular type of body. So this is the whole mechanism, beginning of, again, the spirit souls getting a new body. When the body is formed one by one, how first it becomes like a plum, first month and second month and third month, like that. Here, when the living entity develops desire, that's the subject matter I want to share here. So this is the translation is given. Within the 4th month from the date of conception, at the body of the human being is formed. Within the 4th month from the date of conception, the 7 essential ingredients of the body, namely child, blood, flesh, fat, bone, marrow, and semen, come into existence. Everything is necessary for the function of the body comes into existence. Then at the end of the 5 months, actually the hunger and thirst make themselves felt. It happens, especially when we see this at the end of the 5 months. The body, the child, the baby in the womb, the fetus, is start feeling hunger and thirst. And at the end of the 6th month, the fetus enclosed by the amnion begins to move on the right side of the abdomen. That's a separate subject. But primary subject is when the child in the womb starts feeling, and in this verse we see that whole arrangement is done by the supervision of the Supreme Lord. Material energy also works under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and living entities, a soul enters into a body and develops a particular form, particular type of body, and one by one his limbs formed. In order to have the feeling in hunger and thirst, the function of the mind is thinking, feeling, and willing. So we can understand at the end of the 5th month only, the heart is formed. I can be corrected. That's what the function of the heart is formed. If anyone doctor, they can tell because they can see the heartbeat. Anyone a doctor on the call, or anyone's experience? I don't know. I have 2 children. When they were in the womb, we used to regular visit to the doctor, and these doctors used to see the development of the body, but I don't remember the heartbeat when they used to check. Without the heart, when the heart is formed, then what happens? The super soul it sits in the heart. So that means super soul is manifested in the heart when the heart is formed. And there, the function of the mind starts functioning. And the function of the mind starts functioning. Why? Mind's function is thinking, feeling, and willing. Thinking and feeling and desiring. Many things has mind has been given here. So what is the mind? It says that therefore the material mind of the living entity develops when the super soul sits on his heart. This is Prabhupada's words here. Makes sense? When the super soul sits on the heart, our heart, then the material mind, our mind of the living entity, develops. So if we can think about this, develops in the sense that starts functioning. That's what I can see. Because when a living entity comes from enters into the womb of a mother in later stage, one who brings with him or her the mind itself, mind intelligence falls, and the whole subtle body comes with it. So when it develops, means it's not that it's creating, mind is already there, but mind starts functioning. That's where the symptoms of the mind is manifested. What are the symptoms of mind? The name, thinking and feeling and willing, and that takes place. So everything depends on the super soul's presence within us. Even if you look into technically, how whole thing works, and what does the super soul do? Super soul also reminds the living entity everything. Matasmati jnanam apanam cha. Matasmati jnanam apanam cha. As Bhagavad Gita explains, Maya Ishwar Sarvabhutanam Hridya Sarjana Tishtati Brahmayan Sarvabhutani Yantra Rudani Maya. So I'm sitting within the heart of every living entity. And he is the primary cause, supreme cause of our functioning. He is the supreme cause of our functioning. Without him, nothing happens. Maya dakshana prakriti suyita sacharacharam hatunanina konteya jagat viparit vartate aparivartate. So under my direction, and the material nature works. So under the material nature, we get a particular body. And how this body starts, feeling when the mind develops. And mind develops when the super soul enters the heart. And super soul enters into the heart or manifests in the heart only when its seat is available, the heart is formed. Well, that's how I understand. Then, then the living entity becomes conscious and starts functioning, thinking, feeling, feeling hunger. Everything comes. Inconvenience also, the living entity starts feeling. That's why, as far as I know, the samskaras are done at the end of after 5 months only. Then what we are learning? We are learning about our own personal development, how the Lord has influence on our activities. At the same time, the whole purpose of Sukadeva Goswami explaining this citing the Lord's version is Sukadeva Goswami wants to bring us, all of us, to a platform we can understand that Lord is a person. this, because the personal conception is kind of a lost, very subtle. So he's gradually trying to develop that mindset. Look, he is the person. He's existing. He's within the heart. And this personal aspect is also being described when this Lord particularly is and enters into the heart of the universal form, Virata Purusa. When Virata Purusa desires, when Lord desires, the heart of the Virata Purusa is formed. The heart of the Virata Purusa is formed, then Lord starts thinking, the Virata Purusa starts thinking, feeling, and willing. Because why personal form? In order to attain for the living entity a destination, ultimate destination, the Srimad Bhagavatam directs us that with this, one must have developed the knowledge of the personal aspect of the Lord. Because without that prema, which is the topmost attainment for achievement of the living entity, cannot be possible without the personal form. That's why he's giving an analogy that just as personal body, like its individual body is developed, like ours, so same way, universal form also developed. Same with the universal form is all relating both in how a little child's body is formed and how universal body is formed. Kind of correlation is giving how universal body's mouth is formed and palate develops and tongue is develops, nose, all these controlling deities, the sun, eyes develop for the universal form, then everything is formed one by one. Then in this verse, let me share one more so that we can be. So in one of the previous verses, the living force being agitated by the Virata Purusa generated hunger and thirst. And when he desired to drink and eat, the mouth opened. Again, desire. Everything is desire. A whole subject matter is desire, desire, desire. Of whom? The Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada in that purport he wrote, the process by which all living beings in the wombs of the mother develop their sense organs and sense perceptions appears to follow the same principle in the case of Virata Purusa. So it's not that Virata Purusa follows us and follows the living entity's creation. Rather, same thing is as Virata Purusa, development of the Virata Purusa is formed, same principle is followed in the mother's womb. Same way, how, not only that, if you look into previous verse, if you see how this universe itself is formed, and it comes from the Mahavishnu's pores, a golden sperm comes, and golden sperm starts developing just as a child's body starts developing first day, second day, third day. The universe also develops same way. The universe also develops same way. We cannot pursue cannot have conceived that because we are born within this universe. Before the universe is created, before we came, the universe is already created. So we take it for granted, or everything is just having automatically. The way our body develops, so same way universal body also develops. The desires for all kinds of sense perception and the sense organs exist within the Supreme, and thus they take place in the individual persons. So in Virata Purusa, there's a desire is existing, and the desire in us also existing. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachate Purnash Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasisate. So because Lord is complete, everything in us actually coming from that complete. There's a source for everything. The desires cannot be just automatic, cannot come. The causes of the desire is also the Supreme Lord. And who is that Supreme Lord? The Supreme Lord is also a person. So whole journey explanation by Sukadeva Goswami is trying to direct us from impersonal aspect of understanding so that we can develop that personal conception of the absolute truth. Because without personal conception of the absolute truth, there is no question of love. I say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he comes. If one does not have he comes to teach us this highest form of love of Godhead. Without knowing God is a person, we cannot. So before we go for God is person, we have to, because we are in this universe, Sukadeva Goswami is giving the personal aspect of this universe. Even though it is imaginary, at least we can perceive that person as a universal form. Everything is has a form. And the second thing is, all these verses repeating is desire of the Lord, desire of the Lord, desire of the Lord. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes a song on this. Let me share. Is in Saranagati he writes, Tumi Sarveswara Brajendra Kumar Tomara ichhaye visve srujana samhar. Why I selected this song is because this song is completely dedicating, look, how by the will or desire of the Lord, everything we see manifested and unmanifested happens by his will. And then who is that his will? That is a person or not? What is his identity? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, Tumi Sarveswareswara, when one of the poet writes Tumi in Bengal, what is his name? Rabindranath Tagore. He writes some song on Tumi, but he doesn't say who is that Tumi. So Prabhupada comments on that. But here Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, that Tumi is Brajendra Kumar. That Tumi is not something void, something abstract, but that Tumi is a person who is a Brajendra Kumar. So you are the Sarveswareswara, you are the cause of everything, you are the Lord of everything. Only by your will in this universe, Srijana, which is and the creation takes place, and Samhara, the annihilation takes place. And I was giving, sometimes even so many years of understanding, hearing also, we get confused, is God is a person or not? You get personal, but I see that before we go to 10th canto also, all this foundational understanding of the absolute is very much important. The same Narad Muni, Brahma is asking Narad Muni to share this, the 10 subject matters. And then finally is Samam Bonam. So 10 subject matters, to relish, to understand, to, develop our love for Krishna. This, 10 subject matters, remaining nine subject matters are very important. And within that, how the universe, even though appears like an impersonal, but it is a personal aspect. And who is the person behind this? Then the same Supreme Lord. Taba icha mata brahma karena srujana Taba icha mata Vishnu karena palana. So when the icha comes, means it refers to a person. Again, when the icha comes, because if it's not a person, there is no question of desiring. No question of desiring. Icha comes means there's a person is to it. may not be like person like Aj, and this can be Supreme Person, Brajendra Kumar. And so according to your will only, the creation secondary creation takes place by Brahma. And according to your will only, when the time for annihilation comes, that also happens. And maintenance also happens by Lord Vishnu. So, O Krishna, the Brahma, Vishnu, or Shiva, everyone follows, or Maya, which is Durga Devi, everyone follows your instruction. Tava icha mate Shiva karena samhara. Tava icha mate Maya sruje karagara. So according to different understanding, Maya is supreme, absolute. Maya Devi or Durga Devi is absolute. Devi is absolute truth. For materialist, matter is the absolute truth. Because matter is the cause of everything. Materialistic in the sense, materialist scientist, because this is that there is no person behind the behind the creation. But Vaishnava understanding that the Purusa is the cause of behind the creation, and Prakriti is an instrument. Annihilation also takes place by the Lord's will. Thus the Srishti Sthiti Pralaya, that's the symptom of this material manifestation. It comes into being, remains sometime, and gets annihilated. Why this happens? Because the Lord wills. It's for his own pastime. Sometimes we can see nowadays we go for a picnic and we make some temporary setup. And a festival happens, one big festival happens. Or we go for amusement park. They travel from one place to another. They come to a city and they set up in one field. You see in over a couple of few days, you will see the whole setup for the games and sports and the park, everything gets ready. And all people come from the city and enjoy for some time. When that is over, you see as soon as it's over in 2-3 days, you'll see everything is cleaned up. And that's the way the Lord also creates this universe. And that universal creation is also similar to our creation. Why? It's very easy for us to know how analyze our own bodies. It's very easy to analyze our own body, how it's created. We can focus on. We can use the same logic, same analogy to understand the universal creation. And why this has been explained? That whole purpose is that there's a person behind it. Nothing happens automatically. Lord Vishnu is the cause of, Lord Krishna is the cause of everything. So that and the conditioned souls can surrender, take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And how? With full conviction. Because if we surrender, our surrendering may not have funded by proper knowledge. That's why Rupa Goswami explains, the difference between neophyte, Kanishtadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, and Uttamadhikari. The difference between Kanishta and Madhyama is, Madhyama will be able to justify, by explain. Where Kanishtadhikari may say, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but may not be able to explain, how he has created, how this universal form is also a plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, supercell, the plenary expansion, how this creation happens. So this whole study really strengthens the understanding of the seeker or the devotee. So in summary, therefore the material mind of the living entity develops when the super soul sits in his heart. after which the mind, after the super soul sits in the heart, this is referring to the Virata Purusa, okay, the creation of the Virata Purusa. So after the heart is created, super soul comes, sits, and then the mind is created of the Virata Purusa. Then the controlling deity, moon, is associated with that, the manifest. Then the activities of the mind, which is the Virata Purusa, thinking, feeling, and willing, all take place. The activities of the mind cannot begin without the manifestation of the heart. So it's just giving sequence. Heart comes, then mind comes, then heart comes, then the Virata Purusa comes, super soul comes. Then the mind develops. Then the thinking, feeling, and willing develops. So the heart becomes manifested when the Lord wants to see the activities of the material creation. Well, somebody may say, does it mean that without this Lord doesn't have ability? He has the ability. That's why even though he's a super soul, he's separate from this creation. He desires, that's the universe creates. He desires, this Virata Purusa creates. He desires, the mind is created in the universe. He desires, the mind within the heart of the living entity also creates. So everything is directing us to Krishna, who is the cause of all causes, and taking shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and developing that love gradually is the purpose of human life. So it's 8:34 already. I would like to stop. I know it's still very technical a little bit. There may be some corrections also. I would like to request, please share your comments and corrections. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Vishnu Prabhu, you want to say please something on this?
You want me to answer a question? Ask a question? Okay. You were mentioning that the super soul only comes into the fetus or the embryo at the time when the heart is developed.
Hmm.
So then it comes to sit there. And the heart begins beating around 5 or 6 weeks of pregnancy.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's what I was checking. Okay.
So then when would you say the soul comes into the embryo? And if the super soul isn't there or the soul isn't there at any particular time, would it be okay to abort the embryo prior to that time? Say, like you mentioned that when the heart begins beating, that's likely when the super soul arrives. So would that mean that prior to that, it's okay for abortion to take place? Just a question.
Yeah, these are Sankhya again. The correlation is because the heart is the sitting place for the super soul. My point was heart is manifested before super soul manifests. Sorry for that. So the Lord manifests in the heart only when the heart is formed. So when the heart is formed, then the Lord comes. According to this analogy, I don't know. I showed you right from the purport. Let me share it again so that we are clear. Here. Yeah. The activities of the mind cannot begin without the manifestation of the heart. So until the heart becomes manifested when the Lord wants to see activities of the manifested material creation. So heart has to be created within the living entity first. Then the Lord comes. Only when the Lord comes, then the mind manifests there. The activities of mind cannot begin without the heart. So it's just a chronological an order, what comes what. But you're saying that in 6 weeks it starts beating. So yeah, that time the heart must have formed, but mind may not have manifested, because in the third canto, Lord Kapiladev explains the living entity in the womb starts manifesting feeling, the hunger and thirst only at the end of 5th month. So can I share that again? Makes sense? I don't know which one. Why did he put in the 6 months here? Yeah. Here in this one, within the 4th month from the date of conception, the 7 essential ingredients formed. Okay. Then is at the end of the 5 months, hunger and thirst makes them felt. So because there no further details was provided by Kapiladev about the feeling. So I assume that when the living entity starts feeling, thirst and hunger, means it's feeling of mind only, right? So it comes at the end of 5th month. So if heart is beating at the end of six weeks, it means, yeah, heart is already formed by 6 weeks. Super soul is already there. And living entity, of course, living entity enters from beginning itself. Then only the whole thing manifests in the body function. Without that, it won't work. The manifestation of the super soul is realized when the heart is formed. And that's where you're saying it's beating. And if your question is it okay to abort before that? No, the soul is present from beginning. Only when the soul enters, the body starts developing. You please correct. Did I mess up anywhere?
I wasn't correcting. I was just asking for that question for a clarification. You had mentioned that when the heart starts beating, that's when you had said that that's when the super soul comes. You had that idea,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure that that's exactly what was said. The heart is there. If so, in the analysis that you gave, it seems that if the soul is there for a while and then the super soul comes after a while.
Okay, in super soul aspect, he is present in each and every atom. That's one of the aspect. And localized Paramatma, without the living entity, body will not develop anyway. So when the living entity enters into the womb of the mother, that's the first time body starts forming. So soul is there from beginning to end.
But the super soul comes at a certain point.
That's what I understand from it.
And when that point, and in your discussion, you were theorizing that point occurs when the heart starts beating. That's what I understood from your discussion.
Yeah, because when first heart is formed in the body, when the heart forms, then the super soul is manifesting. The heart becomes the sitting place. Because without heart, it won't start beating anyway, because heart starts beat. And that beats only when the heart has to be there. And after the heart is formed, then super soul manifests there in the heart. Then it starts beating. So that time duration, because I mixed it here because mind and beating is two different things now. Because if you're saying 6 weeks, that's what it means. Heart is already formed. That's why I asked any doctor. So heart is formed already. The super soul is manifested. Heart starts beating, but the thinking and feeling and willing comes in the later stage. The child's manifestation of the mind looks like comes in the 5th month. End of the fifth month. This I took from Lord Kapiladev's instructions in the development of the child. Thank you for your again. If if heart is developed in 6 weeks and beating 6 weeks, living entity enters into the womb under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. Nature provides a particular kind of body development. And as the body develops gradually, different limbs are formed one by one after another. And heart is also formed at certain time, in 5-6 weeks, whatever. When the heart is formed, super soul manifests, and that's where the heart starts beating. Without heart being formed, heart cannot beat. And gradually other limbs develops, and then the mind also manifests, and the living entity starts manifesting his thinking, feeling, and willing capabilities. So same thing is manifest a similar. These all are reflection of the super soul, the Virata Purusa. How universal creation happens in a giant scale. The similarly ordinary living entity also happens in a minute scale. And what we are discussing is that whole the Supreme Personality Godhead is a person, the personal aspect. Universe as a personal aspect also is there. Any other comments, questions? Anyone has? Any reflections also?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. It's very nice, Prabhu. When you were singing the Bengali songs, it was really nice to hear from you.
Yeah. Not with that good like your accent, but I tried.
No, you feel like Prabhu, you are Bengali. You are from Bengal.
Well, the reason I shared that song is in a miniature scale, lower level, we understand what we are discussing, and where Bhaktivinoda Thakur and our Acharya is taking us. That whole purpose of studying is know everything in relationship to the 10th canto. Even though we are discussing about universal creation, personal body development, but it's still related to the Samam Bonam, because our relationship with Krishna, who is a supreme person, is 200 form, and developing love for him is our goal. Prema Pamarthaman. That's why I shared. It has a creation also, it is annihilation also, it is a maintenance also. Still, it is connected to Krishna. Yeah, that's the reason I like to share that verse and the song.
One of the song, Prabhu, written by Rabindranath Tagore, like it takes my heart towards the Lord, like Ananda Luke, Mangala Luke. It was so nice too. I used to sing that a lot.
Nice.
Ananda Luke, Mangala Luke, Biraja Satya Sundar. Very nice song.
Yeah. Only the comment was that I think Rabindranath Tagore did not give the personal aspects. So if you study further, you understand behind this addressing, oh God, please and help me, means the prayer, the requester may not have this personal aspect of realization of the Lord. So similarly, Rabindranath Tagore also has many prayers, has this devotion, but not with the personal aspects. So Prabhupada says, the Vaishnava philosophy gives the personal aspect of the Lord very detailed. And ultimately, Krishna is 200 form. Thank you for sharing Rabindranath Tagore's prayer. So should we stop it here?
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for all the explanation you gave. But that's what I thought. So when heartbeat comes, the Paramatma comes, and that is why the rituals, whatever they do at the time of pregnancy, until 5th month they won't do anything.
Hmm.
See, they're like you're saying everything. The fifth month is the most formed baby is there in the womb. And then, like Prabhu says, if any abortion or anything they do, doctors usually consider until the third month, like that, 2-3 months. Otherwise, they won't do it. Mostly they say no.
Well, for us,
That's what.
we don't see even any time because soul is present
Yeah,
from.
that's true. That's true. But if any that thing is there also, they
Because
won't.
develop the consciousness, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the child is already developed the
they
consciousness.
already developed. They won't do it.
Yeah.
So like you said, might be Paramatma might be there all the time by 6 weeks. So that is a reason they may do too.
Yeah.
They say they won't agree with that.
Right. This detailed subject will come in next canto anyway.
Yeah,
This subject was really not on that, but because Prabhupada correlates of a
that's
development child and development of the universal form.
true.
So
And then by 4th, 5th month, the whole thing will be formed. So baby starts moving.
yeah.
Then you feel that heartbeat or moving feelings around anything. That's what my experience is.
Thank you. You can be more because you're a mother already. So you know. um, thank you so much, Madhuri ma'am.
Thank you. Prabhu.
So if no one has any comments, should we stop it? Dhanacharya, you want to say something?
Yeah, just a quick reflection. I think these collection of verses really just really emphasize that how dependent we are on the Lord, even though the living entity is constantly trying to execute its own independence. It just shows that even our ability to see, our ability to smell, our ability to act, our ability to all the bodily features, all the senses that we have, that we engage for our own sense gratification. It all comes from the universal form of the Lord and his desire. And Krishna allows the living entity the choice, to use our senses for our pleasure or for his service. Krishna is giving us, and even that ability that Krishna is giving us that ability to use. So we're dependent fully at all moments. That's kind of the reflection I'm taking from this.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the whole purpose of the this subject matters actually. To make us realize from false pride, ahamkara, to Krishna is the enjoyer. He is the source. He is the bhoktaram, directing from self-centered to Krishna-centered life. Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhu. So we will.
I wanted to also mention that we have a very special occasion coming up on Sunday. This is Jagannath Snani Yatra. It's one of the biggest festivals we have here at ISKCON Philadelphia. Maybe not as big as Janmashtami and Radhastami and Gaur Purnima, but it's still very big. We get a lot of attendance. It's always on a Sunday. So we encourage devotees to please come on time at 4:30 and join in the kirtan for Lord Jagannath. The bathing of the deities will take place at 5 o'clock sharp, and we'll end at 6 o'clock. So please don't come 6:15 and be disappointed. Come early. Punctuality is very important, as we're doing service to Lord Jagannath. So please come. Bring a nice offering to Lord Jagannath, some flowers or some fruits. But most importantly, bring your heart to offer to Lord Jagannath with devotion. So Krishna Kirtan Prabhu, we're also expecting to see you there. So please come. You can bring devotees from Delaware as well if you like. It's a very joyous occasion.
Yeah. Many congratulations for this event. Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Snani Yatra ki
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vancha kalpatarvyasya kripa sindhuvebhyo
Pattanam pavane.
Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Namo Namah. Hare Krishna.
Ananta Koti Vaishnava.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Somebody is taking care of closing this.